Hey there, fellow nerds and geeks. Aaron Nabus here, and welcome to the Hall H Show. At last year's San Diego Comic-Con, my co-host, Alex Benedicto, and I hosted an artist meet and greet for some of our favorite artists. Someone who decided to check out our inaugural event was Uraeus, a Maryland-based writer and the creator of the Black Heroes Matter movement, filling a need to bring awareness of how important minority representation is within the pop culture and comic book worlds, especially after the recent events of the past couple of years. Uraeus started this movement in 2016, bringing about 20 Black Heroes Matter shirts to SDCC, launching something that has started to garner national and international attention. This year, we were lucky enough to catch up with him at San Diego Comic-Con 2017, just minutes after the Black Heroes Matter flash mob. On this episode, some of the topics we discussed were the importance of San Diego Comic-Con and how it's such a great opportunity to network, how his trip to Egypt in 2004 inspired him to start his own comic book creation journey, his other projects, such as his adapted screenplay for his comic, Indigo, which is currently being shopped around, and of course, Black Heroes Matter, where you can make a statement without saying a word. Enjoy. Hey, fellow nerds and geeks. Welcome to the Hall H Show podcast. We are at San Diego Comic-Con 2017. It is Friday, and we are joined by a special guest, Uraeus from Black Heroes Matter.
Greetings to all.
We are popping his podcast cherry today. His first ever podcast, which is hard for me to believe, but hopefully this will be the first of many.
Exactly. Exactly. It's an honor to have you guys be my first.
Awesome. We met Uraeus last year at last year's San Diego Comic-Con, so it's such a, it's good meeting you again this year and having you on the show. Yeah.
Likewise.
I guess before we get into Black Heroes Matter, we would like to get to know you a little bit better. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us, what was 11-year-old Uraeus like? What were you like as a kid? Where did you grow up? And what were you into when you were younger?
Okay, well, to start out with the here and now, I'm Uraeus. I'm a content creator, comic book creator, writer, editor. I wear many hats, but I'll call myself a creative to make it easier. But I'm originally hail from Gaithersburg, Maryland, which is about 20 minutes outside of Washington, D.C., the suburbs of D.C. So I've been a dreamer, a storyteller all my life. At 11 years old, I was drawing pretty much with any free time I had, of course, playing sports, but I was always dreaming. And as an only child, I had a lot of time to reflect and just be by myself. I didn't have a lot of brothers and sisters to fill my time, so I had to create stories, whether it was using a tape recorder to make little radio plays or, just had to fill my time the best way I knew how, and that it always involved telling a story that was in my brain. So the imagination's always been running, but I started out as an artist, was a gifted artist. I had my first artwork exhibition in the Corcoran Gallery at the Smithsonian when I think I was about 14 years old. So
wow, Smithsonian.
Yeah, so I was always a fine artist first and foremost. Nowadays, I've kind of put the pen and the brush aside, and I'm a writer now. So in the capacity that I work now, I'm a writer and I work with a team of artists to bring my visions to life. But I've always been writing stories one way or the other. So that's my passion, always has been.
So can you describe the transition from illustration into writing? Why did you make that change?
I mean, to be quite honest, I was good, but there were a lot of people around me who were great. So I just naturally, I could tell the story and then allow others who had a skill superior to mine to bring the stories to life better than I could. So I had always been a writer as well. So I just, kind of just moved towards that direction and allowed others have the honor of working with the master illustrator Mashindo Kumba, who's down in North Carolina. I mean, he's like the Frank Frazetta, Boris, or a He's just a pinnacle. So to allow guys like that, it's like playing basketball with Michael Jordan and you're a shooting guard. You're going to find another position to play. You don't need to be a shooting guard. So I allowed him to shoot the rock, and I just, facilitate.
When did you know you wanted to be a professional creative? Do you remember what sparked that interest?
I've always wanted to be, as a little kid, I wanted to be a Disney animator. I wanted to make my own movies, and that's always what I wanted to be. There was a point in my life when I didn't think it was possible, but once I started going to the small independent shows, I go to the East Coast Black Age of Comics Convention in Philadelphia, shows like that, and getting around other people and seeing them do it, and seeing other people do it. The mind is fickle. If you see somebody doing something, you start to believe that you can do it. If you don't see somebody doing something, then you tend not to believe you can do it. So seeing all those people in one room who were doing what I dreamed of, it gave me the confidence that I could do it. So I just went for the dream and been chasing it ever since.
Can you briefly tell us about your creative journey leading to Black Heroes Matter? I think, remember last year you talked about your character Indigo?
Yeah, no doubt. Indigo is a story. I bill her as the high fashion assassin. She's a former child soldier who was elevated herself from a traumatic childhood and elevated herself to being the top-rated assassin in the world. I started as a comic book, and just on a whim, I decided to write a screenplay. To translate the short comic into a screenplay. I wrote the screenplay, and through dumb luck. And just positioned myself around the right people, I was able to sell it to Wesley Snipes' Monday Media Company, option it with them, and in turn they were able to sign a development deal, and I signed a development deal with Skydance Productions, who does Mission Impossible, World War Z, G.I. Joe, and Terminator Genesis. So signed a development deal to develop the screenplay into a live-action TV show. So we've been going through that for about a year and a half. I'm in a proverbial development hell. So just kind of waiting for those wheels of Hollywood to slowly turn. But I also have another project, which is my pet, my baby, which is Jason Wise, Hero at Large. And I bill him as the anti-Tomb Raider, whereas Indiana Jones and Lara Croft, they'll go into native lands and raid the tombs and steal the artifacts and take them to the museum. Jason Wise works in the opposite. He'll break into the museum or the private collection, take the artifact, and return it to its natural home. So kind of working in that opposite direction. But he's an immortal adventurer, warrior, and scholar. And he's my, just a culmination of my favorite characters growing up: James Bond, Indiana Jones, Highlander. So he's kind of an amalgam of all those with a splash of my personality. And it's just, even as I was a kid, just having fun. It's a profession, but it's still me having fun. And so the kid in me is just still doing exactly what I was doing at 11 years old, at 8 years old, at 14 years old. It's been the same thing. Just the ability to make money from it has been the thing that's changed.
Right. Your Jason Wise project, is that available for our listeners to check out?
No, I have. It's actually, I guess, achieved kind of underground cult status, where it's like a really popular underground black independent comic. It's gotten some notoriety, but it's currently being shot by Monday Media and Wesley Snipes for production. But it's always my baby. I hold it close to my chest. But I started it as bedtime stories. I have 3 boys, 11, 13, and 15. Okay. So I started it as bedtime stories for them, and I tell them one story, and then the next night they'd want to know more. So I'd have to keep creating, and him coming up with this intricate backstory of where he came from and what his powers were, and then I started writing it down, and just kind of a snowball effect, and so it's been fun.
I guess we can jump to Black Heroes Matter. You just had your flash mob.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that? How long have you been thinking about Black Heroes Matter? When did you start planning it out, and why did you create it?
Well, Black Heroes Matter is actually about 1 year and 3 days old. It's something that I came up with about 3 days before I came out to San Diego last year. I always wear T-shirts, whether it's T-shirts with my favorite pop culture, the Goonies or Star Wars or whatever, Thundercats, and I always noticed that people would gravitate towards whatever it was. Yeah. So I said, this time I'm going to go out and I'm going to create. I'm not going to push somebody else's property. I'm going to put an idea of my own out there. So I try to think of, what would be something that would be, poignant and something that would be, not superficial, but something that would be kind of powerful because of all the things going on in police brutality and the issues that were, really, really high and are still high, but especially last year we're at an all-time high. So I wanted to come out and make a statement. So I just thought with the Black Lives Matter, and that's such an important statement that I wanted to kind of bring that into the arena of pop culture, comics, movies, TV. So it was natural just to think of Black Heroes Matter. So, Black Heroes Matter it's at the intersection of Black Lives Matter and Oscars So White. It deals with the misrepresentation of people of color in media, but it also deals with, just us being seen as less than and trying to make a statement in media to demand us to be represented properly. And not just by the mainstream, but as creators, demanding us to step up and speak to our greatness and not the negative aspects that are always focused on.
It's as you said, it's been a year since its inception. How is the movement going today, and what are some of the challenges that you faced?
It's been really cool. Last year I came out with 20 T-shirts and just wanted to give them out to friends and try to, just make a small statement without really saying anything, just walking around and, kind of a picket sign that you wear. And it was incredible. It went viral in a matter of hours, actually. And I was contacted by the Hollywood Reporter, Daily Beast, and Newsweek magazine, and major publications that wanted to find out what it was. And they were, and I knew in my mind that it was really this small thing, but to them, from the outside looking in, it looked like something much greater. And now it's kind of gravitated towards being something much greater, just because the media portrayed it that way.
Right.
But it's been incredible. People from all over the country and all over the world have reached out and
incredible.
Just resonated with that one statement, just Black Heroes Matter. And they interpret it. I don't tell them what it means, but it means something different to every person. Mm-hmm. So it's just really been cool that they've told me what it means to them, and in turn I've bounced that back out, and it just kind of it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It kind of perpetuates itself.
Does the movement extend to other minorities?
Of course. The struggle is for representation for all of us. You turn on the TV channel. Well, I'll put it this way. No one group should have a monopoly on heroism and feeling good about yourself. But as it stands today in the media, if you're a white male, it's your world. The world is your oyster. Mm-hmm. Everybody else, you got to get it where you fit in. So basically, I've branched out to Brown Heroes Matter, Asian Heroes Matter, and Native Heroes Matter, because their struggle is the same. There's still their youth looking to see themselves in a heroic light. We don't want to be the sidekick or the comic relief or the stereotype. We want to be, in the driver's seat.
Right.
And that's important for, not only young minds, but for creators and adults as well.
Now that you've sort of galvanized a lot of support for your movement, what's the next step?
The next step is just continuing to build, continuing to pull more people in to make a greater and greater statement. I guess we probably had about 100 people at the flash mob today, which was, leaps and bounds over what we had last year. We had a flash mob as well in New York City that was big, but not as big as the one we had today.
Okay.
So it continues to pull more people in. It's pulling other ethnicities in and other groups in, and we're all seeing that it's a common struggle. We just want to see ourselves represented correctly. As I've said before, do we have pimps and gangsters and hoes? Heck yeah. But we also have physicians and teachers and lawyers and principals and astronauts, and there's a whole gamut of things. But the only thing that's focused on in communities of color seems to be the negative aspects or the stereotype aspects. So we want to see ourselves represented. It's fine to show a criminal and a thug. Mm-hmm. If you show the doctor and the housewife and the lawyer and all the other things, then it falls into place. But if you only show the negative aspects, then the kids who are looking at it are going to see themselves confined into a box where that's all they can be, and that's all they can aspire to.
Speaking of kids, how have your kids, how have they sort of responded to your involvement with Black Heroes Matter?
It's weird because I've been doing this since they were, in diapers, so it's just a normal thing to them to see dad doing, an interview or in the paper or, on TV or, stuff like that. It's just their norm. They've grown up just thinking that, but at the same time, they've also seen a Jason Wise or a Brother Man. I surround them with not only the creations that I create, but other creators that I know. I fill their libraries with, just proud heroes of color that they can have, so that they don't have to search the way I did when I was a kid to find someone who looked like me. So it's a different way of growing up, but I'm glad I was able to give them that gift, and they're much better off for it.
In terms of something that sort of epitomizes what Black Heroes Matter, should represent, are there any sort of like comic books or other sources of media that sort of show, the goal of what you're trying to do?
Well, I mean, my home base is Twitter. I'm at Jason Wise, which is JAYCENWISE, but the heading is Black Heroes Matter. Also on Instagram, at Black Heroes Matter as well. But I mean, no, not really. I mean, it's just a community. If you look at the hashtag, you'll see how it's kind of caught fire, and other people are aligning the hashtag with their projects to promote whatever positive thing they're doing. So it's really been it's not really a defined movement with somebody at the head. It's kind of its own thing. It's kind of turned into like a living, breathing organism on its own. And just following the hashtag, I learn something new. I find out about new projects and new creators all the time, just checking that hashtag. So it's really been cool.
I guess what I meant to say was, are there any comic books that you could steer people toward?
Sure.
That these are good examples of good minority representation.
Oh, no doubt. Well, first I would come with who I say are the masters, which is of course Mashindo Kumba, who's worked on he's worked on a plethora of different things. He's worked on my projects, Indigo, Jason Wise. He's worked on Dreadlocks, which is a character by Andre Batts. And you have Gray Williamson, who's up in New York. He's another old sage who's he's worked for DC, he's worked for Marvel, he's created characters. He's pretty much done it all. But he has some great books, Valmar and other projects that he's working on. But you have Dawood Anyabwale, who's down in Atlanta. He's a creator of Brother Man, which is one of our classics as well.
I think another former guest on the show, Keith and Jones, had referenced Brother Man.
Keith and Jones as well is doing the Power Nights. He's a local cat. He's actually one of my best friends, and a partner with me out here in San Diego. But he's really doing some excellent work, and trying to bring light. I mean, it's all the same. It's the same struggle. It's just trying to show us in a heroic light and steer away from the negativity.
I guess since we're at San Diego Comic-Con, the reception here, can you sort of just touch on that a little bit?
I mean, it's really fascinating. I get more response from Caucasian fans, people who, they see it as, and I'm not actually sure why, but it resonates with them for some reason, that it's, I guess, positivity attracts positivity. So, the reception amongst people of color is always great. But what surprises me the most are the white kids, or the white mothers, or even the older white men who come up and just say, I really love that message. I really love the shirt. And it kind of, kind of takes me back. And for the people who wear the shirt, there are always stories of people coming up and having long conversations. But I don't know, it's like a doorway for them to come and approach it. It's like Black Lives Matter has taken on such a negative, where people think they're almost equating it. Some people equate it as a terrorist organization. It's taken on a really negative connotation. But Black Heroes Matter, when it's in the arena of heroes and fictional characters, you can have that same conversation, but talking about, Miles Morales versus Peter Parker, or something like that. So it takes a really edgy or really painful topic and allows people to discuss it without, negative feelings, and allows them to discuss it openly. So I think people are really thankful for that.
Have you seen the latest Spider-Man Homecoming movie?
I have seen it.
Do you think there will be a Miles Morales in that
I think
movie?
so. That Donald Glover character, that Easter egg where he was, playing his uncle. He refers to, I want to keep the guns out of the community because my nephew lives here. So we all know that his nephew is Miles Morales. So that just opens it up. So he's got to show his face, and I'm excited to see it. I hope to see it.
Right. Is there anything else that you want to add to Black Heroes Matter before we move on to talking about San Diego Comic-Con?
I just think that the movement itself is a creation of, what people bring to it. So if you're a creator, if you're a fan, if you're just someone who's not even familiar with comic book, but wants to learn, but wants to share it with a nephew or a child or a student. Just bring what you can. If you're a creator, bring your properties. If you're a fan, bring your enthusiasm and your dollars to support the creators who are doing it.
Right.
But just come and check it out.
Cool. I guess we can sort of talk about San Diego Comic-Con a bit since we are at San Diego Comic-Con. When was your first San Diego Comic-Con?
This is my 4th Comic-Con.
Okay.
Yeah. So the experience, it gets a little different. I mean, the first time I came out here, I was wide-eyed, bushy-tailed. I had no idea what was going on.
It's overwhelming now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, there's so much to take in. But each year, the fan in me subsides a little bit, and it's more of, I'm out here handling business. I'm trying to network.
Yeah.
I'm trying to connect with like-minded individuals. So the more you come, I mean, it's still fascinating to see, the sideshow collectibles and all the cosplay and just all the properties. But it's about business. It's about connecting with guys like you and just building brands and just moving projects forward.
Although I did see you post a picture of you and Ric Flair together.
Oh man, that was bucket list stuff. I mean, that's one of the greatest of all time. So that was a treat. So I mean, the kid in me is always gonna be doing backflips in my mind, but I have to focus and remember I'm here for business. But there's always room for fun.
Right. Well, speaking of which, you have a little balance of fun and business. Can you just sort of elaborate more on what keeps you coming back for more?
I mean, I've been to a lot of comic book conventions in my time: New York Comic Con, Dragon Con, C2E2 in Chicago, Onyx Con in Atlanta, Ekbach in Philadelphia. But this is the one where if you're serious about your craft, if you're serious about making moves in the industry, you got to come here. Because, first of all, for someone like me who's in Baltimore, it's such an investment to come out here that most people who are out here are serious about their craft.
Right.
No one's here to play games when you're putting in such an investment to travel so far and to sift through all the getting a room and all these things like that, the hoops that you have to jump through to even make it into the hall at all. So people out here are serious about business. So I mean, coming out here is a must. If there's one show I have to go to during my work year, it's here.
Do you have any favorite memories that you could share about either this year or past years that you've come to San Diego Comic-Con?
Well, I mean, I'll say the flash mob. The flash mob jumps to the head. I mean, just seeing all the beautiful faces and creators bringing all that positive energy and just being there as one, making a statement without saying a word, was powerful. And just as the people filed by, they really didn't have any idea what was going on, but they knew it was something positive, and they knew it was something important. You could see it in their faces. People were walking by, they didn't know what was going on, but they were taking pictures as if something's happening, we don't know what, but it's something positive. So I mean, to me, that's been one of the best things. But also all the individual relationships that I've built in my time here, just meeting creators from different parts of the country, it's been incredible.
To people out there who are trying to make that move to sort of fulfill their passions and their goals, are there any pieces of advice that you can give to somebody who's trying to come out and make their mark, or to accomplish to try and get their project started, connect with other people? What kind of takeaways can you give to them that would help them fulfill their dreams?
I mean, it's really as simple as just do it. I mean, it's just like so getting in the pool. You can ease in the pool, you can take your time and ease into the cold water, you can just dive in. I mean, the way things are situated now, it's, as opposed to 15 years ago, it's so easy to get a book done. It's so easy to do a podcast or make a TV show and throw it on YouTube. There's so many avenues that weren't available 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So if you have an idea, just do it. Get together with someone who has a like mind and put out whatever you're dreaming of putting out. If you don't know about anybody who has a like mind, come to a convention and you'll find somebody. So just do it. Don't be scared, and chase your dream. I mean, there's so many avenues, and the technology has made it so easy to collaborate and to film and edit. And I mean, it's print on demand with your comic books. You can have a comic book in a week, through a printer, where it might have taken you a month or 2 months 10 years ago. So just do it. Have faith in yourself and take the jump.
Mm-hmm. Have you accomplished most of what you had set out to do coming out to San Diego Comic-Con this year?
This time out?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the flash mob was one of my biggest things, but I'm always trying to make that relationship with whoever it might be that's going to take things to the next level. And you never know when that's going to happen or where it's going to happen. It might happen on the floor or walking from your car to I mean, you never know what's going to happen out here because there are so many people. And sometimes you don't even know who they are. But decision makers and reporters and media people and just building relationships and talking with people, it's I'm always looking for that one relay. It only takes one person,
Yeah.
to take it to that next level. So I'll never meet, what I'm trying to do. But if I make 5 relationships, and I should have made 10. If I make 10, I should have made 15. So I'm always going to be raising the bar each time. So it's been a good show, but it can be a lot better, and I'm hoping it will be in the next 2 days.
Yeah. And we still got 2 more days.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
By the time this episode airs, obviously San Diego Comic-Con will be over.
Right.
But, I mean, are there any sort of San Diego Comic-Con tips that you could share with our audience?
Yeah, no doubt. As I said, you never know who you're going to meet out here, so be prepared. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So have your stuff prepared nicely. Have it in a format where you would, if you met the head of Warner Brothers Studio, you could hand it to him and feel proud about your work. Or if just be prepared, because you never know when the opportunity is going to hit. Mm-hmm. So have your elevator pitch ready, have your portfolio ready, or whatever has you, because you never know when that opportunity is going to manifest itself for you to jump on it and seize it. So just have everything ready as if you're going to meet that person that day.
Cool. We have a segment of our podcast called the Thunder Round.
Sounds good.
It's let's sort of our off the beaten path set of questions,
okay.
And I'm gonna turn it over to Alex to ask you the questions.
All right, here you go. First question: if we gave you $1 million and you had to spend it all in one day, what would you do with it?
That's easy. I would invest not only in my own projects. I would invest in my projects, but there are probably about 5 to 10 creators whose projects are on the verge who I would invest in as well. People who just need that little push to get over the edge. I would invest in them and their properties to, take them to the next level. So I would spread the wealth.
Nice. All right. If you were a mutant, who would you teleport anywhere in the world? Where would you go, and why would you want to go there?
Wow. That's a good question. I'm a historian at heart, and I'm an Egyptologist at heart. So I would make that trip to Egypt. I had the opportunity to go in 2004, and that's actually what spawned my comic book career, coming back from there and being able to be in the temples and see the Great Pyramid and see all that, that majesty over there. So to be able to go over there, to zip over there, and kind of fill my inspiration vessel and come back quickly and safely, I would go to Egypt. I would go back home.
I guess maybe since you're talking about Egypt, that's someplace that I've always wanted to go to. Can you sort of elaborate and tell us about your experiences there?
About Egypt?
Yeah.
My God. I actually went as a delegate on a study mission and exchange program. It was students from HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, deans and administrators, and it was supposed to be a group of 30 of us, but in 2004 it was shortly after Saddam Hussein had been captured, so the terror alert went up to orange.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty high. Yeah. So from the 30, I think about 26 people dropped out. It ended up being 4 of us that went, and they advised us not to go, and it was dangerous, and we were not knowing what we were going into. But I just felt the need. I'd always wanted to go there. I had a passion for all things Egypt and Africa. So I took the leap of faith and I went, and it blows your mind. It just changes you. Going over there and seeing the perfection and the level of accuracy, and as an artist, seeing the level of accuracy that they achieved thousands of years ago was it was more than inspirational. So it's something I think about every single day. And it changed me as a person.
So if I were to, if I said I was going to go to Egypt, maybe in the next couple of weeks, what are 3 things that you would recommend that I would see over there or do?
You got to see the Great Pyramid. Regardless of any picture you've seen of it, it doesn't do it justice. It's something that you have to see. It's the biggest thing that I've ever seen. Just being able to stand at the bottom and place your hand on it, it's just life-changing that men can construct something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And so that'd be number 1. The Temple of Karnak in Thebes is mind-blowing also, and for the same reason. Just it's so big and so perfect, and it's so mathematically aligned in the fountains and the statues, and just to see that a mind conceived that and executed that. As an artist and a creative person, that we can create anything. Last thing I would say is take a cruise down the Nile. Just to be able to see, on ground level, in a ship floating down, and just being able to see the way the people live, and it's just fascinating. There are temples all along that you can see, and it's something that will change you.
Awesome. Hopefully I'll get a chance to do all that.
I hope so, man. It's kind of dangerous now, but
I know. That amazes me too. Is just those old ancient civilizations where
it's
a lot of things started. Math,
exactly,
language,
right? Sure. Mathematics, engineering,
civilization,
right?
Society, actually.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing I took away from that trip is we think we're so sophisticated now, but we can't. They were just on a different level.
I don't think they still figured out how they were able to sort of, lift the stones,
exactly.
To build the pyramids.
Yeah. They're on a different level.
Yeah.
Next question. All right. Let's see. What are 3 movies that you could watch over and over again?
Kind of cheesy, but the animated Hobbit from 1977.
Okay.
Rankin and Bass.
Yeah.
I've seen that 200 times, backwards and forth. The Goonies. That's
classic.
A classic. I love it. And the first Star Wars.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I'll throw in The Usual Suspects as well. That's one of my all-time favorites.
Kaiser Sose.
All day, every day. No doubt.
What advice would you give your 11-year-old self?
Keep at it. Don't let anybody steer you from what you believe you can do. And luckily, nobody was able to. And I'm actually doing what I wanted to do when I was a kid. I wanted to be a comic book artist. I wanted to be an animator, and I wanted to be a ninja. I didn't get the ninja part, but
2 out of 3 ain't
two
bad.
out of 3. It's not bad. So just don't give up. Don't let anybody sway you from what you think you can do. And there's always going to be naysayers along the way, but just stick at it. And it'll come to fruition if you put in enough effort and hard work. So my life's been a testament to that. So I'm going to keep trying to live the dream.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Cool.
All right. What's one thing that people would be surprised to know about you?
Jeez. I don't know, man. I'm really into. I'm really a sucker for 80s music. I'm the king of the 80s music. I like hip hop, but I also like my. I don't even know if I should reveal, but I'm a Jackson 5 kid. It goes back to the 70s. I'm a Bee Gees guy.
That's nothing to be embarrassed about.
I know. I'm a Cyndi Lauper guy. So
right.
I love my hip hop. I love my R&B, but I'm a sucker for the 80s. I grew up in the 80s, and that's cemented in my brain. So that's the soundtrack of my youth.
So if you were trying to get in that creative headspace, what would be on your sort of playlist?
Through any genre?
Sure.
I'd have to hit the 80s hard. Thompson Twins, Cyndi Lauper, Aha. But then, of course, I'd have to go with the classics of Run DMC, Curtis Blow, Fat Boys. There's just so many. Then we bring it to the 90s with, the Wu-Tang Clan, Mobb Deep, Onyx.
Speaking of Mobb Deep, rest in peace,
No.
Prodigy. Yeah.
No doubt. That one hurt. But, there's so many greats. But movie soundtracks, musicals. It's just I pride myself in being eclectic. Even a little bit of country here and there, but
okay.
a little bit.
I'm a Merle Haggard fan, so
okay. Yeah. So that's good. Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton. That's fine.
All right. Last question. What superhero or villain best represents you?
I'd say Lex Luthor, not the one from Batman vs Superman. I couldn't tolerate that one. But the Gene Hackman and the one from the comic books. And it's just that always have a plan, not a diabolical plan, but just always planning, always that chess master, and just I pride myself in just being that guy who's mental first before physical. I get down physical too. Wrestling coach and a former college wrestler.
Oh, wow.
But, I pride myself in being able to plan and outthink. I'm a chess player, so try to stay 1, 2, 5, 10 steps ahead of everybody else.
Cool. The next segment of our podcast is Art Watch. And usually what we do is we sort of rep an artist or artists, if you want, that we follow online. And when we say artist, we're talking about, it could be an illustrator, it could be a writer, it could be a photographer, actor, cosplayer,
Sure.
and so on. So I guess we'll let you go first if there's anybody that you'd want to,
And you say it can be a writer?
It can be anybody creative, basically.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to highlight somebody who's actually a mentor of mine, who's a masterful writer, and it's Charles R. Saunders. And he's actually the father of a genre that we call sword and soul, which is a sword and sorcerer like Conan, Red Sonja, but it's seen through an African perspective.
Oh, wow.
And I've actually had the opportunity to work with him on editing several of his novels. He writes a series called Imaro, which is I don't want to call it a black Conan, which is what a lot of people call it, but he's very similar to Conan in that he's a warrior, but he's traveling across this a fictional continent, which is an alternate Africa called Inyumbani. And it's about his adventures and battling monsters and sorcerers. And once again, it's growing up and loving sword and sorcery, but not seeing yourself represented. And he filled that void. So he birthed a whole new genre, and he did that in the 70s. But he also writes a series called The Soye, which is about a female warrior, which could also be likened to Red Sonja, but a badass female warrior. But I found out about him, I don't even know how, but I started reading several of his books in the Amaro series, and I think I got to the third book and finished that, and I couldn't find a fourth book anywhere. So I was looking all over for it, checking the internet, and nobody could find it. And some kind of way I tracked down his information, and he's actually in Canada. I think Charles is in his 70s now. But I asked him, how can I get the fourth book? And he said, there is no fourth book. There's a fourth book, but it's not available because I couldn't find anybody to publish it.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So, of course, I said, I'll publish it. And I didn't know how to do it or anything, but I learned. I was a writer and I'm an editor, but I told him that I would publish the book, and I actually had to go and learn how to do it while I was doing it. But I've actually published 4 of his books, and just built a relationship with him where he's a mentor to me and just a master writer, and being able to learn and read his words has been, responsible for some of the biggest growth in me as an artist and as a writer. So Charles R. Saunders, I'd like to highlight him.
Okay,
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely put his information and links that he may have on the show notes. Alex, do you have one?
What's that?
Do you have an artist you want to rep? Okay. Well, since we are at San Diego Comic-Con, one person that we are trying to get on the podcast is his name is Jin Kim. He's a local artist here in San Diego. He does a lot of covers for IDW, like Transformers.
Nice.
So you can find him. I think his Instagram is Jin Kim, JINKIM _art, I believe. We'll put all his other social media links on the show notes as well. Alex?
I probably want to come. I see her a couple times at a couple of conventions as a female artist, Chrissy Zulo. She's real. I just like her stuff. It's real nice stuff, and it's like it's pretty clean, nice colors, and check her out. She's an artist alley, or probably won't be a time, but
What's the last name again?
Zulo, Zullo.
Nice.
Chrissy. First name.
Can I give a shout out to one more?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Actually,
we can keep on going all night.
Oh, okay, that's what's up. But as I said before, one of my partners in crime and creative partner, he's also been a mentor to me, is Mashindo Kumba, who's a master who's down in North Carolina putting in amazing work. And I guess you could find him on Facebook at Mashindo Kumba, and also on Twitter, Mashindo Kumba. So that's MSHINDO KUUMBA. So, he's known in a lot of circles as being the kind of likened to the Alex Ross or the Frank Frazetta of the black art movement. Okay. So I've had the opportunity to work with him on many occasions, and we have a collective we call ourselves Black Ops, and we pride ourselves in creating gold standard content that highlights the greatness in the black community. So Mashindo Kumba, hats off to him, and he's a bad dude. Check him out if you can.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
I guess we're going to start wrapping up the show with our flash forward segment. Pretty much we talk about, what we have planned for after San Diego Comic-Con. any other projects that you may want to, let our audience know about. So, pretty much what's next for Uraeus? Personally, there are other projects out there you want to sort of mention. Specifically, what's next for, Black Heroes Matter? And I guess we can end with what other cons, you'll be going to.
Okay. Well, as far as Black Heroes Matters is concerned, actually working, have the pleasure of working with Ryan Benjamin, who's the artist. He's done Star Wars, he's done Spider-Man, he's done so many different titles for both DC and Marvel. He's currently working on a Wonder Woman book with Kevin Grievous. But we are in development of a Black Heroes Matter theme comic, which is kind of under wraps, but it's something we're working on. We're taking it into the creative world to get the idea and the message out to as many people as we can.
Okay.
So taking a step in that direction, but also just pushing it on social media as much as we can and trying to garner as much press as we possibly can just to get the word out. As I mentioned before, I don't know if I mentioned, but had a good interview with a sister from Al Jazeera today. So putting the Black Heroes Matter out to an international audience is really important, because it's not just a struggle here. It's a struggle. It's a worldwide struggle. People need to see themselves represented in a positive light, be they black, brown, red, yellow, or white. We all need to see ourselves represented as we feel we should be represented. So just pushing that message out, trying to get a signal boost and stretch it as far as we can. As far as my personal projects, Jason Wise and Indigo, as soon as I hop on the jet and fly back to Baltimore, I'm going to be right back in the lab, pushing those projects forward, writing and collaborating with artists and moving forward. Also working on a property, I call it a sci-fi romance, which is, once again, science fiction from an Afrocentric perspective, sci-fi. But it's called Cynthia, and it's the story of a romance between an unlikely hero and the woman of his dreams, who he finds out is an android. And it's a romantic story, but it's just a little deviation from the action adventure that I usually do, and just a chance to branch out and just write something different. So it's been a lot of fun. So working on that when I get back as well.
Cool. Well, definitely keep tabs on you, and let us know when you.
No, please do.
Yeah,
no doubt.
What other cons will you be going to this year?
New York Comic Con in October, I believe. I would like to make it to the Schaumburg Festival, which is in New York. I don't know if schedule will allow it, but probably the New York Con, and that'll be a wrap for the year. Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything that we missed that you'd like our audience to know about?
Not really. Just wanted to highlight the importance of seeing yourself. There's something I call the mirror test, and everyone who's listening should take it. It's a highly sophisticated test. Not really. It requires a mirror. Find a mirror. Stand in front of the mirror, ask yourselves two fundamental questions. Do you like what you see? And do you believe in the capacity of the person looking back at you to change the world? If you answer yes to both those questions, you pass the mirror test. If you answer no to either one of those questions, both of those questions, or are unsure of your answer, you failed the mirror test and you got work to do. Self-work. You need what we have to offer. Black Heroes Matter, Brown Heroes Matter, Native, Asian Heroes Matter. You need to see something positive in yourself, because everyone should have the belief that they can not only change the problems in their community, but in their state and in the world. So we need our children to buy into that wholeheartedly, because we got a madman in DC who's trying to bring this whole house down on our heads. So we need our children to be able to, manifest the genius that they have, to be able to take things to the next level. As much as there are elements in the country who are trying to drag us backwards, we need for them, the younger generation, to be able to catapult us forward into the 22nd century and deeper into the 21st century. So that's what I try to instill in my children and every child I come across.
Where can people find you online?
Say again?
Where can people find you online?
Oh, okay. Home base for me is Twitter. So at Jason Wise, JayCenWise. Also on Instagram under Black Heroes Matter. No spaces.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, it's been an honor.
And here's to,
Appreciate you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. We need this.
Thank you. And here's to, making your dreams come true and just having that confidence to,
exactly,
take that whatever you're trying to do to the next level.
Yeah. Your 11-year-old self will thank you for it.
That's right. Take that mirror test.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. On behalf of my co-host Alex Benito, this is Aaron Nabus. We're signing out from San Diego Comic-Con, and thanks for listening. Talk to you later. Peace. Cheers. Artists assemble.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Hall H Show. Our mission is to put the Hall H spotlight on artists, writers, and other creatives. We especially love emerging talent and people we think deserve more exposure, like writer and creator of Black Heroes Matter, Uraeus. As Artist Alley evangelists, we encourage you to please visit Artist Alley at all the conventions you plan on going to this year. Speaking of conventions, please make sure you are continuing to be SDCC fit. Join in on the fun and help keep other nerds and geeks motivated to be healthier and fitter by following the SDCC Fit movement online on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you are listening to us on Google Play, iTunes, or Stitcher, we would appreciate a rating and a comment. We're always looking for interesting guests to have on the show, so if you have any suggestions, please reach out to us on social media using the hashtag HallHShow. Are you an artist wanting to promote your Kickstarter campaign for an upcoming project? Let us know. Peace, cheers, and artists assemble.